Of course, I'd seen Antoine Fuqua films before, but I've never seen his cop movies. And having watched Training Day, of course, for our show, I didn't realize there was another cop movie. Fuqua didn't want to do a cop movie again.
That's what I heard.
And Ethan Hawke didn't want to do a cop movie again. But because they were each mildly considering this cop movie, they both ended up doing this cop movie. So we're going to talk about the cop movie to end all cop movies for Antoine Fuqua, as he's got a bunch of people in Brooklyn being not so great to each other today with Brooklyn's Finest. Welcome back to the show. I'm one of your hosts, Kyle Goethe from GoatFilmReviews.com.
And welcome back. He's wronger. I'm writer. It's in the movie.
That's
I
fair.
had to do it.
Yeah.
So thank you for finding us. Thank you for watching. And for our loyal fans, thank you for continuing to support the show. You can follow the show on Twitter and on Instagram. Both of us are members of the Minnesota Film Critics Alliance. Check out that website for other members' film reviews. And today we're going to talk about this first time for seeing for me. It's a decade old. Brooklyn's Finest.
Yeah. So over the course of 1 week, 3 Brooklyn police officers' lives are forever changed. Tango, an undercover agent, is given the opportunity to get out when he's asked to set up an ex-con who saved him. Sal, a cop stuck with too many money problems, who has the opportunity to grab a little extra at work.
Sad.
And Eddie, the oldest officer in the precinct, training rookies on the rules of a job he has long ago been beaten down by. As the 3 cops all head toward the inevitable, who can still walk away?
Okay, so this is a script that was submitted for Screenwriters Contest, I believe. That's how the origins came out.
Interesting,
right?
yeah.
Michael C. Martin submitted for a Screenwriters Contest. It didn't win, but it got second place, and I think a lot of people who are critiqued those actually appreciated it. Like, well, let's make it to a movie. And I think if I remember right, it was somebody that wanted to do New Jack City 2. Saw the script and like, maybe we can take this script and more from New Jack City 2. There's some elements of New Jack City. I mean, Wesley Snipes is in this movie, for God's sake.
Yeah, he's in this movie the whole time being under investigation for tax evasion. So he was trying to finish this. They were trying to finish this movie, especially
being a real thug,
they thought
right?
He might be going away.
Being a real thug and getting arrested, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he was paid $200,000, Michael C. Martin, to sell the screenplay. And since that time, he hasn't done a whole lot of screenplays that have been of note. He's written for some shows, but his other screenplay of fame is
like
The Vatican
Cell or
Tapes.
like that,
is a big one. The Vatican Tapes is one that he did. That was a big deal because that movie was filmed, shelved for years, and then finally came out.
Okay.
And some people love it, some people really hate it. So,
this movie did premiere at Sundance in 2009, and that's where it got distribution. So yes, Michael C. Martin said he got an inspiration for some personal lives, but it's based on some kind of a cop from the 80s.
Yep.
And then he usually influences from Italian neorealisms like Umberto D., The Bicycle Thief, and Knights of Cabarina, which are Italian neorealists. Really, are what they really emphasize is you're really trapped in your environment, but on location, real people. And I think that's the essence of this movie. It's real locations. It is Brooklyn.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's what Fuqua was pretty good at with Training Day as well, was he put people in the situation. You know, he like in that movie, he had gang members actually in the cast. In this movie, he's got gang members in the cast. And I think it's got kind of a realistic quality to it. I think my big takeaway from the film after seeing it is as an examination of the work of police forces. Good police work is very hard to do, and good police officers do not get paid well enough to do good work. And thankfully, some of them still do good work, but we can see why some of them don't.
Get tired.
Yeah, we can see why some of them are guys who shouldn't have to live in a home with wood mold because they have a very dangerous job. We see how these cops shouldn't be beaten down by, should be able to stop someone doing something bad, even if it's not in their precinct. There's all these things that they should be able to do, that they should be able to get out of being undercover if they don't feel that they're mentally in a good place anymore. But if we don't let them. And it's that thing that comes down to it where every single cop in this film is having the worst possible situation. And most of them probably started out as good guys, but they find themselves leaning into, how can I fix this for me?
And definitely is the influence. That's the whole, what you just said is the influence of Italian neorealism, where the bicycle thief simply needs a bicycle for his job, but then somebody steals it. And so the way how you can continue to make a living, you have to find some way to steal out someone else's bike.
Yep.
And then he's the one that gets nabbed and put in jail. And then he gets the shame, and then he's going to figure out some way to make amends to his life.
Yep.
So it's all about circumstances happen to you. How are you going to get out of it without shame? Mm-hmm. When you try to avoid the shame.
Yeah.
And a lot of these characters are trying to avoid the shame, but they're accepting the situation. Even after long delays of accepting reality, finding reality is hitting them.
Yeah. You almost find that if this film had a prequel, it would be a really hopeful film, like first day on the job for half of these guys, and then you could like follow it up with this truly depressing take on the job 10 years later.
Well, I like noir. I love there's no heroes in this.
Yeah. Yeah, like the best heroes you have are the ones where it's heroes that have officially stopped trying to do it normal. Like Richard Gere is maybe the closest person to a heroic character, and he's not heroic for 95% of the movie. You also, I guess, have what I would consider maybe your barometer character, Brian F.O. Burns' Ronnie, who is Sal's partner, I guess.
Yes.
The one who's kind of trying to right the ship. He's telling him things will be okay, things will get better. And
even when he
don't.
shoots at him almost.
Yeah, when they both find themselves at odds with weapons.
Yeah, and then they get involved. But I think it's wonderfully written. Everything is written. It has a purpose. Mm-hmm. We're going to eventually get there.
Yep.
And we're going to intersect eventually. Like, I love that scene of Richard character's character and Ethan Hawke's character just stand there. They're not really like, hey, buddy.
Looking at the picture on the wall.
They're only like, hey, buddy, but they're at work.
There's something. Yeah. It almost feels like how when a Marvel character shows up in another Marvel character's movie. Like I'm trying to relate this to everybody else here. Yeah. In that kind of situation, there's that scene of like, oh, neat. It's kind of that when Ethan Hawke shows up in the same scene as Richard Gere. Like, oh, neat, they're in the same movie together. Like, even though we've been watching it. Yeah. I think Gere only shares one scene with Hawke and only one scene with Don Cheadle's character as well. So you have a whole movie where they only really interact one time each. What I think is fascinating, I like the subgenre of movies where I call them collision films, which is you have ostensibly like three different stories, and you wait until they collide with one another. You have it done to schmaltzy effect with a film like Crash, where characters are constantly colliding with one another. But then you could even say like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a collision movie because it's all these characters that are seemingly telling random side stories, and it's when they hit at the end that really makes something powerful. And this is a subgenre where, in this case of this movie, I don't like the collision. I don't think the collision when these characters finally get to it, the collision is basically a building that they all go into, but they don't really ever interact at all. None of their stories actually hit each other.
It's not like a big mass punch.
Yeah, your collision is a building, and it's like, okay, like, all right, fine, I guess. Like, I was really kind of into it. That dropped me a little bit was that finale. I just didn't feel like really got where I wanted it to go. I didn't feel like my character stories ended in a satisfying way.
Right, that's why I'm saying the writing is good. I think, especially if you're submitting for a writer-screenwriters contest.
Yeah, good for you for having your first published screenplay here for $200,000 there,
because
Michael
the whole
Martin,
point of the movie is
pretty well done for the first time out,
I say so too, right? Yeah. And the whole point of the movie is exposition by Vincent D'Onofrio right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Even though you're in the right, you're still wrong, and the people that are wrong are still in the right based on the situation.
Yeah. Yeah, there's constantly it's a walking in other people's shoes movie where if you spent time in Ethan Hawke's character in Sal's shoes, you would understand exactly why he does what he does. You totally get it.
He's sinking. He's probably upside down on his mortgage.
Yeah. And he makes that mistake of he does one wrong thing for a good reason, and then it's not enough, he discovers. So now he has to keep considering for the whole film. He was the most captivating character, was Hawke's Sal for me.
I think
because
so.
I connected with him on the sense of I get why you're doing this. Yeah. And you have the ability. He's the character who has an ability to walk away and figure something else out.
He's the anxiety man.
Yep.
He is the constant anxiety. And then the entrapment of Don Cheadle's character.
Yeah.
There's no way out of this.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's finally going to shoot his way out of it. Literally and metaphorically, right?
Yeah.
But I love that there's, I don't know if it's intentional or not, but there's this homage to French Connection with the stairwell to the train.
Oh.
There's a little bit like that.
Because is that the same stairwell too?
It might be the same stairwell.
Or at least on the same train.
But it looks like the aesthetic of standing on the stairwell, then the cop, the bad guy, the back turn, but instead of shooting him, he just pulls him down.
Grabs him, pulls him down, and he's wrong about it too. And that's kind of an inversion of French Connection, is that he's wrong about this attack on the other guy. Right. Yeah, I didn't even think about that really. I thought about French Connection, of course, because the train because of the road underneath.
Well, it's very
It's an iconic-
documentary looking.
Yeah, it's an
Very-
iconic looking environment to be in. Like, when you're watching a movie that's under this, you're like, yeah, that's the same spot.
Yeah.
But I hadn't even really thought about the fact that there was that inversion, probably because I haven't seen either film more than once. But
But I do, like I said, what I really retained from this movie, really enjoyed it, is feels authentically neorealism. It feels on location. You feel that texture, almost like Copland, where you feel like this is actually happening. It's almost documentary style, not so heavily of the 70s, but it doesn't really like flashy scenery. It's almost sometimes handheld camera.
yep.
So it feels like you're almost on a location. Not so much of like where the camera's going. So it's not really like a documentary style, I won't say that, but it is of the nature of almost a documentary kind of a looking kind of a film.
Yeah. And the tough thing, again, like saying that I was really into Ethan Hawke's story, the tough thing for me with Don Cheadle's story is that I've seen the story play out a few times before.
Oh, it's Donnie Brasco. Yeah.
It's Donnie Brasco, it's The Departed, it's most recently Judas and the Black Messiah, when you have a character that's kind of in with a cop character who's kind of in with other people trying to rat out and
Kurt
figure out a
Vonnegut
way.
did a wonderful take with Mother Knight of
Yeah.
Nick Nolte's character as a
And-
spy for America, but he spits out Nazi propaganda, and which inspires more Nazis. So it's almost like, are you doing good?
Yeah.
By being a spy or making
And
things worse?
What saves Cheadle's storyline, what saves Tango for me, is that it is so well acted with so many powerhouse people. I'm always a defender of Will Patton as his handler. I think Will Patton is one of the underrated character actors of the generation.
Well,
right
he does
now.
it so reserved, and you just want to punch him.
Well, yeah, like you can get mad at him, but you can also completely, again, just like with Sal, you can understand why Will Patton is there too. He's also like, his job is to keep him calm and keep him in place, even if he's going to promise things that he's not going to give. And Will Patton, again, has blown up in, recently with the Halloween reboots, with Minari he's great in, and again, just watching him here proves to me that Will Patton has kind of he's been out there for so long doing great work, and we don't recognize him because he's always in movies with other powerhouses.
It's almost like if you have a movie actors that headline the movies.
Yep.
And you say, well, we're going to get Will Patton, kind of like a character actor, like yes,
Yeah, you got the face actors, which I'm not drilling on Cheadle, but he's known for his appearance in movies. Like when you see him, you're like, that's John Cheadle. He can headline this. Will Patton is the guy who basically like adds the chutzpah. He adds the extra layer to the film. Of course,
there's certain people that have risen to headline, like J. King Simmons has been kind of that kind of thing, and Tobolsky, Stephen Tobolsky.
Oh, yeah.
We get those kind of guys, and eventually sometimes they rise up to headline movies. Yeah, so you're right, and I think of course you get Ellen Barkin, who has the biggest balls in the movie.
Yeah, I would read somewhere she took the role to work with Cheadle, and I think she'd worked with Cheadle on Ocean's 13. I don't know if they had any scenes together, but she had worked with him on that film at the very least. She wanted to work with Cheadle so much that Fuqua wasn't entirely sure she ever got paid, because she just really wanted to have the role that she was in. But yeah, I think it's Ellen Barkin she has a specific use in certain movies where she really pops. And this is one of the ones where, again, she shows up, didn't even know she was in the movie, but she's there, and she kind of owns her scenes that she's in. And yeah, you're right, she has the biggest balls in the room.
Right, and her dialogue is almost like ridiculous. Even Don Cheadle's like, that's BS.
Yeah.
But she sells it good. She sells it really well.
And again, Cheadle's character is...
Cheadle's character in the movie. This is BS.
Well, he's unable to get out. He's still at her mercy. No matter how BS she is, he's still at her mercy. She can still make the choice, even if it's illegal or wrong, misguided. She still gets the call. And then again, with Cheadle, we also have his interactions with Wesley Snipes, who, when Wesley Snipes is in on something, he's really in. We look at Major League, him coming to America. He's like the best part of Coming to America too. Is Wesley Snipes.
I agree.
When he's invested in something, it works really well. You have his direct-to-DVD stuff, too. That's not so great.
Oh, I'm sure he had a blast with Demolition Derby.
Oh, Demolition Man?
Yeah, Demolition Man, yeah.
But, like, when he's in on something, he's in it. I think this is a movie where he's in. I think he has great chemistry with Cheadle. I think and especially the late, great Michael K. Williams.
They all have a great rooftop scene.
Yeah, that's a great sequence there, too, because you don't really know how Snipes is going to play it. The way he looks, the way he talks, you're not really sure if he's going to tell them, push this guy over or let this guy go, and he dances on it for so long.
It's really weird for me because I grew up watching Wesley Snipes, and he's the gravity of it all. We've seen him so animated in so many different movies.
Yeah,
where he's the animated, outrageous extrovert, and he is the weight.
Yeah,
where everybody else is out there saying their lines, and he is waiting for his turn.
Yeah,
he's
this
taking
may be the
in.
most reserved Snipes performance I've
Right,
seen.
yeah, it was really shocking because I'm White Man Can't Jump. I remember him. He's.
I just remember his animated comedic tone in Major League now. Like, and I only recently saw Major League like a couple years ago, and that redefined how I view Wesley Snipes as an actor.
Willie Mays Hayes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
Don't put him out in the field though.
I think if you're going to give anything to this movie, it's got to be the cast for me. I'm so impressed with the cast and what they're doing with it.
Casting, directing was wonderful.
Yep.
They
And
picked the right people
Richard
for it.
Gere, I would have never placed him in a film like this. I've seen him play a cop. I've never seen him play a suicidal cop who goes to hang out with a hooker and has numerous sex scenes that aren't done in a Pretty Woman-esque style.
No, there's a movie called Internal Affairs that's mentioned in the trivia where he plays the person investigating cops and talk about how many cops we know that are just living on their own, drinking themselves to oblivion, and
Yep.
sucking
And he
on a gun
indeed
like
is
a
one of these
lollipop.
ones.
And he's one
Yeah.
of these characters, right?
And we should point out with Richard Gere, spoilers, I guess, ahead here. In the Sundance release of the cut, he does kill himself at the end. And I think that's maybe my criticism of the whole collision is I don't feel like our deaths are earned.
No.
I don't think Cheadle's death is earned. I don't think Hawk's death is earned. And I definitely wouldn't have thought Gere's death is earned.
I put in my notes that Richard Gere's character, the last act, is very Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
Very much homage to Taxi
It's almost
Driver.
like he's waited until he doesn't have the rule book anymore.
Yeah.
And then he finally finds his conscience again because he's been just destroyed by the job for so many years. I mean, he basically goes through the whole film telling every new recruit, this job sucks, you're going to hate it, and just find something to live for until you can retire. So he clearly has not had a great experience with Brooklyn police in the past few years.
Spoiler alert, I used to be a football referee for American football for 20 years. And when you're new, you get assigned veterans. I met so many football veterans that just like, you're ready, boy, because you're just going to get yelled at, criticized, you're wearing a clown suit, you're going into battle.
Yep. Welcome to hell.
Yeah. And then they're like, I really get a chuckle. Your smiling face, and you used to make fun of me. Your smiling face and your enthusiasm and running, and I really get a laugh out of it, boy. It's like, that's why I quit 20 years, because like Richard Gere's character is almost like, why are you retiring? 20 years is kind of long enough to do anything.
Yeah. It's a long time, and even just the characters too that are saying like, well, I'm in it until I can get that pension money. And it's like that is years. That is years of your life. Like you can't hate something, or you can't fall out of love with something and then be forced into it again.
Very different from Danny Glover from Lethal Weapon.
Yeah,
which is like, I'm looking forward to retirement. I got a boat and everything. But Richard Gere is like, I'm just done. I don't know what I'm going to do.
I don't know what I'm going to do, but I can't keep doing this.
Yeah. He's completely rudderless if he retires. Right.
But I did laugh at, again, like big criticism of the script is that it is overly cliche. Like that, Tango's story is very much cliche. Sal's story is very much cliche. And Gere's story too is like he opens the film up with, I'm 7 days from retirement. And I'm like, Murtaugh?
Yeah.
So it is a cliched story directed well. And the dialogue is engaging. But yeah, it does hinge on its cliches pretty heavily. Maybe the one thing that comes out of the shocking finale is that I didn't see all of that coming at the end.
No.
That was the most surprising part. I just felt like that part was the most, the most dour and
I didn't know where it's
going
to go. I don't know where. It's the first time in the whole movie I didn't know where it's going.
Exactly. So I can give it that at the ending. I just didn't care for the collision all taking place in a house, and none of the stories really intertwined in a way that I thought they would. For a movie that spends so much time separated stories, I really thought they would mean more to each other when we got out.
I'm not a fan of the ending.
Yep.
That you just cut on Richard Gere, where you've invested in all these other characters, and then you just cut from Richard Gere.
And part of that is
soft dissolve. It's like,
part of that is they wanted to change the dourness of his suicide at the end of the film by making him walk away being like the person who has changed, who has been beaten up one more time but has finally done something with his life. And I respect that change. I prefer that change to the one that we would have had in Sundance.
Well,
but I still don't think it worked out terribly well.
even I, if we've got this script to read in writer's workshop, I would like an ending where some kind of connection of maybe Richard Character's character comes onto the murder scene of Michael K. Williams and Don Cheadle, stuff like that, and helps out in the investigation. But like something of a connection with these characters, because you don't want to drift off with one. It's not Richard Gere's character's movie, and you end on that where there's just like, okay, it's a really awkward ending. where something has been so polishedly written, even though it's a lot of cliches, it's kind of a weird ending to this.
Yeah, and like certain characters who hear gunshots in the building in another person's story, and it's like I thought, okay, he's going to hear the gunshots, he's going to go that way, but no, he doesn't really go that way. And then the strange thing is, I was in on Ronnie's character, Brian F. O'Byrne, who's Sal's partner.
Yeah.
I was in on the idea, but I don't think he would have just killed Tango, like on the street like that.
No, I thought it was like some street kid.
I think he would have done a freeze situation at the very least, tried to stop him. Maybe after, like, you know, Tango tries to run, he places a shot and kills him or something like. Because I just don't think, like, as we have him as our character that we're supposed to look for, like, what should be done. He kind of makes a call that doesn't seem all that well put together either.
And we're doing what you really don't want to do with writing. Screenwriting is, maybe I would have done this. Maybe I would have done that. But that happens.
Yeah.
But it's a first writing screenwriting contest. I love the flavor of it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like those non-hero kind of movies. I do like noirs where there's really no hero. There's really no hope, almost. But dark something in the title. How about that instead of Brooklyn's Finest?
Yeah.
Dark Alley or something like that, or really go with it. Something like Sin City would have done. You know, just don't shy away from it. Just if you want to invest with no heroes, just really do it.
Well, and again, these heroes all come down to not likable but interesting, and part of that placates with the performances given by the characters. They make the interesting characters that I can still follow if I don't like them, because that's the biggest crux of a noir film is. In noir films, none of the characters are supposed to be likable, but then you better make them really interesting to make up for it.
Oh, damn.
You know, and that's why the best noir films do have interesting layered characters, because
do it with dialogue.
You have to.
And that's one of the things. You do it with the dialogue, and I just think the dialogue, a lot of it is just throwaway. You have to make the dialogue clean it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So, overall, for me, I don't know if I'll go back to it.
Yeah.
I do like the richness of it. It's really set in the environment. I really enjoy that. I really like the look of the authentic. It really seems like an authentic film. Sometimes I forgot I was even watching a movie.
Yeah, it feels to me like the kind of movie that I wouldn't press play on myself. But if someone else was watching and I walked into the room, if someone asked me to watch it with them, I would have no problem sitting back down and watching it again. I liked it way more than I expected to. This movie did not have the greatest reviews coming out when it did. But I was
the
more
reasons
surprised.
why we mentioned for 20 minutes, right?
Yeah, I was more surprised by how much I was into the narrative, into the characters that were there. It just didn't hit that final note as well as Fuqua did with Training Day, or some of even the other films that have kind of dealt with, you know, bad cops and crimes in the city.
Yeah.
So
just the script needed to be in the oven a little bit longer.
Yep.
So, have you seen Brooklyn's Finest?
Yeah, let us know down below your thoughts on this 2009 film from Antoine Fuqua. What Antoine Fuqua film is your personal favorite, and which one should we cover next on the show? Let us know down in the comments section below what you thought about it.
Yeah, comments help, and we like to answer them.
Yeah, it's our favorite thing, actually, seeing comments from you lovely people. And even when you completely disagree with us, which has happened quite a bit, I do appreciate the disagreements as well, because they may cause me to relook.
I have no complaint about people saying Godfather 2 is the better one.
No.
Even though I prefer the first one.
But you're wrong. No. But yeah, let us know how we're doing down in the comments. And don't forget down there, too, like and subscribe and click that bell so you can get notifications when new episodes happen. Those things don't cost you a dime, but they make sure that we can help support the channel. Yeah. And you'll never miss an episode of the show as it drops. Don't forget as well, we also have that Patreon down in the description there. You can click that link, join us for as cheap as $1 a month. But if you want to put $5 down a month, you can also join our rotation of people who pick the films that we cover from our Patreon selections every month as well. Yeah. Couldn't hurt. Then you can maybe pick a film that we wouldn't cover, even though we'd cover a lot of things. And thank you guys for joining us. But you can find all my film reviews over at goatfilmreviews.com.
Hey, you can find my show, the St. Paul Filmcast, anywhere you find podcasts. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
We're the finest in here.
Okay.